I'm Allie. I came out after 20 years of marriage, and I have 3 kids.
I'm Melissa, and I have 2 kids, and I came out at 37 after an 11-year marriage.
This podcast is about coming out later and the struggles and victories that come with it.
When coming out feels like the end of the world, but it's really just the beginning.
This is the Lesbian Chronicles. Welcome to the Lesbian Chronicles.
Looking deeply into your
Yes,
eyes.
you are. It's making me really uncomfortable.
I'm sorry.
Why are you holding the stare so long? We're not used to being together.
I know.
Are you blushing?
A little bit. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
I've been cooped up in my home.
I know.
Communicating only via Zoom.
What is that about?
Like, why haven't I been coming in person?
Why haven't you been coming to the city, period?
Well, because I don't have a place to stay anymore. I'm a homeless little lesbian.
Well, anytime I don't have the kids, you have an apartment in my
Yes,
backyard.
I do. I shouldn't say I'm homeless because I do have a lot of friends that are letting me like stay in their places. But for those of you who don't know, I'm not in a relationship at the moment. And I own a condo in Atlanta, but since I bought my new house, the mortgage company only like give you so much money.
Yeah.
So I had to like rent out my condo. So
Right.
I no longer have access to my little home away from home.
Well, you have access to my home in the backyard.
Thank you. I can stay in the doghouse.
It's actually really lovely up there. Have you ever been in there?
I have not, but I mean, I've seen it.
Yeah, like I worked in there this morning. I like set myself up in there, and it's like, it has everything. It's got like a little kitchen, a little bathroom, and it's vaulted ceilings, tons of light.
I mean, how cool is that for your kids?
I
too?
know,
like
the teenagers
that get to experience like almost like their first little apartment without actually like having to leave home.
Yeah, sometimes like I'll be going to bed and I'll see him in through his window back there, and I'll just like hugely wave to get his attention. Wave to him from my window.
It's like on Friends, like the ugly naked guy or whatever.
Totally. I know. I always think like if I'm ever like in a fight with Maria, I'm like, I'm just gonna go sleep in the apartment.
Right? Yeah.
Screw you.
Seriously.
Anyway, just kidding. If she's listening,
Just kidding.
Anyway, so how have you been?
Good.
Yeah. Are you feeling a little more settled in this new normal for you?
I wouldn't say I feel better that, initially when a breakup or separation, whatever we're doing happens, it's so overwhelming. It's like your brain just can't do anything but be sad.
Yeah.
So I'm out of that stage. I'm not over I'm over the part where it's like
devastating.
It feels like the world is ending. And right now I'm just kind of in this stage of like, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
That's
right.
The universe will show me the way, and that way will be the right way.
It's true.
And I don't have all the answers right now, but I will one day.
And my mom used to always say, like, what organically happens is what should happen. Like, because I tend to like force things. And like, I mean, one of the fights that I have with my partner a lot of times is something will be happening and I'm just like trying to control the outcome so massively. And she'll be like, whatever is going to happen will happen. And I always kind of like say back to her, okay, well then let's just nobody go to work. Well, why are we working? I mean,
what are we doing here?
What are we doing here? Let's just chill.
Kids
if it's
don't
going to
need to go to
happen,
school.
they don't need to go to school. They don't need to go to college. Let's just sit back and see what happens.
Why don't we spend all the money in our bank account?
Let's just do it because what's going to happen is going to happen. And she's like, God, that's not what I mean. But that is sometimes I tend to do that. Like I want to have a plan. I overthink it. I want to know the odds. I weigh it all out and then I make a decision. But my mom would always say like, what is easy, like what organically, when you're on the right path, the universe rises to meet you. And it's like that book says. And it is true. Like when you're on the right path in business and friendship and the universe kind of rises up and shows you the way. Like even like when I meet certain people that are my friends, I like right away, the universe was showing me this is a friendship I like. This is someone who I'm comfortable with. They disarm me. So I just think that is a lesson of like, to your point, sitting into it and just letting what's going to happen organically. It doesn't mean you can't put your effort into it and your side into it, but it shouldn't be resistance. If it's resistance, it's not meant for you right now.
Yeah, like you can't force it.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's kind of in a lot of ways forcing me to kind of do more inner work than I already have.
I know, God, please.
I know. I'm like, God damn it. I'm fucking over this.
Yeah.
But part of that is just kind of being like, okay, well, what do I do on my own time? Like, what do I do? Like, how do I get comfy being alone?
Right.
How do I, what do I do with my time?
What is alone? Do you mean alone in that? Because like, it seems to me you're very busy socially. Do you mean alone like you're busy socially but independently showing up for these things? Or do you mean like alone in your space at night going to bed?
I would say like alone in my space when I don't have my kids and I'm kind of like, you know, I work evenings most of the time, so I usually am up from my morning nap, around like 9:30, and like that in between time. Like, what do I do from like 9:30 until I've got to log back into work?
Because everyone else in the world is working.
Everyone else in the world is working. Yeah, and I'm kind of like, all right, this is when I need to exercise, and clean the house, and work on some writing projects, do the laundry. And so like focusing on that time and not letting that time just be like either woe is me time or vegging out completely and watching Netflix the whole time and just, you know, being lazy. Like finding like active things to do, and finding like valuable things for me. Yeah. That, like uplift me. Like be it listening to a podcast or an audiobook. Something where I'm like learning something is a big thing for me right now. But also like not focusing on always doing that. Like not every podcast I listen to has to be like some kind of lesson or every audiobook I listen to.
It can just be a mind rest.
Yeah.
I think this isn't what I was talking about with Jay Shetty, but this is another thing he said today is just because you share a bed or a home with someone doesn't mean you're connected to someone. It's like that doesn't really mean anything. You can share a bed, you can share a home, and it doesn't really mean for sure that you've got this connection. And if you don't have connection, you can feel lonely. And so it's like having a partner doesn't necessarily give you that connection.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Because I could say that I felt lonely in my marriage.
Yeah. I feel lonely in my relationship sometimes. I actually verbalized that in less than 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I think a partner doesn't give that to you. I was thinking too that like you don't run, I run. And so sometimes after like a long period, your mind does start to like work on things and you get creative or you whatever, but you could walk.
Oh, I walk. Like, that is something I started doing. Cause the other thing that's happened at the same time is that I hurt my back really bad.
Yeah.
I also hurt my neck. And so I'm just kind of like fucked as far as like really working out. Yeah. I've had to pause my CrossFit membership, which is like a very like therapeutic thing for me to do, to actually go to CrossFit, not pause it.
Right.
But so yeah, I'm trying to find like other ways to like get out and get exercise. Yeah. And I've got a weighted vest.
Yeah.
It's only 12 pounds, but
adds significant.
And so I go for walks with that on.
That's incredible. And like get lost in a thought podcast.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, and that's the other thing is trying to like focus on like not always listening to something. Like
could
being
just do music.
Alone in your thoughts, period. Quiet. Like a lot of people have a hard time with quiet.
Yeah. Mine is not a hard time. It's more boredom.
It is boring.
Yeah.
But are you bored with yourself?
I guess I'm bored with my thoughts. Like I'm bored. I want to be stimulated in some way.
But I kind of force myself to do that sometimes. It's not easy though. Like I've started to do it more so when I get a shower because I always would listen to something when I got a shower.
Oh wow, okay.
Like
I've never done that.
Or music. And lately I've been like, you know what? I'm not listening to anything while I get a shower. That's like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Where it's just silent.
Yeah, I've never had something on in the shower.
Really?
Never.
It's always been my thing.
Really?
I've even got a Bluetooth speaker in my bathroom.
Oh my gosh. Okay, no. That's interesting. Okay, so that might be why though that I'm quick in the shower.
And I'm in there like, oh, this is great.
This is interesting.
Quiet time, get to listen to what I want.
Do you ever listen to, so you're not constantly working on like your emotional health, but listen to things that are like health, like I like sometimes listening to, not that I do it, but health kind of like brain health or like protein, what you need after certain ages, or like sometimes that's interesting to me because it's just like helping me, but it's not emotionally draining.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm not quite. I used to be really into nutrition, like about 15 years ago,
right?
And I kind of like immersed myself in that world for so long.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of like,
I'm over
what
it
else
now.
is there to learn?
Yeah.
Although now I know that there is a lot more to learn.
Well, maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
Hence my no longer drinking coffee.
I know I need to do it,
but. I'll do kind of stuff like that. I actually just listened to a book called Working Stiff. This is like totally outside of like any kind of healthy whatever. It's written by a woman who was the medical examiner in New York City, or a medical examiner in New York City during 9/11. That's not entirely what her book is about. It's about her career and like kind of how she got to that space, but it's pretty morbid, like not gonna lie, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know what, I'm gonna listen to this because it's totally outside of like sexuality, mental health, like wellness, any of it. I was like, I'm fucking tired of it.
Right. I don't need to constantly be working on myself.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So tell me what we're talking about today.
Oh, yeah. So one of the things that I've been kind of thinking about lately is how our perception of what a relationship should be is and like what the reality is later in life.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when I met my ex-husband, we were in our early 20s. We had literally nothing.
Yeah.
And for us to move in together was like a smart financial decision. We moved in pretty quickly because it was literally like I needed a roommate. He needed a place to live. We could save a lot more money by living together.
And there's nothing to lose.
And there's nothing to lose. Right. And so we moved in together. And then after that, though, pressure was on for my family. Like, my mom, you guys should be engaged. If you're going to live together, you should be getting married. And so we got engaged after a year and a half together. Mm-hmm. And then we were married another year and a half later. So 3 years together total before we were married. And it all felt like we're meeting this timeline of like what everyone expects from us, right?
Yep.
But at the same time, like you said, nothing to lose.
Yeah, you're in your biological clock is kind of you're in the prime of your.
Yeah.
I get married. I get married for a few years. Then I have a baby. Then I'm doing everything. Everyone else around me is doing it.
Everyone else is doing the same thing.
It's the flow. It's what my parents would call the flow. You put yourself in the flow and you floated.
Everyone always says like, well, would you jump off a bridge if all your friends are jumping off? No, I wouldn't jump off a bridge because that's dangerous.
Right.
Like, I'm going to die. But would you run around and get married really quickly if all your friends are? Yeah, you would.
But is it even that quickly?
It's not.
It's not.
Was to me, in my eyes, that was a very smart timeline.
Yeah, you did it very sensibly.
Yeah. It's not like we ran off and got married after 6 months.
No.
We did get 2 cats together after
still
like 8 months.
A cat is
even
low
that
commitment.
was kind of like
a cat is low
what's
commitment.
really going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward to me being divorced and dating
with
2 kids in my late 30s, now early 40s. And, you know, I don't have the option of doing the lesbian U-Haul.
Right.
You know,
no.
Like that's bringing in my kids' lives.
Right.
So I need to be smart about my pacing.
Right.
But even so, in my head, I have had, okay, we'll date for a year and then we'll talk about living together at that point and figure something out. And come to realize, like, that's not really like how it meshes. You know, your other person's bringing in past shit.
Yeah,
like maybe living together doesn't feel that comfy to them.
Right.
And
maybe they already own a place.
Maybe they already own a place. Maybe your kids don't really want someone else to move in with you just yet.
Right.
Like, that's their safe space.
Right.
And I realized that a lot of what my timeline was for my, like, in current relationships is based on what my timeline was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And it's just not the same.
And are you layering that expectation on this partner that's like, what the fuck? This is like not, or do you feel yourself like you put that expectation on this other person?
Yeah, you put it on the other person.
Yeah.
And to be completely transparent, that is something that, like, she and I had the same timeline initially. But over time, that perspective changed on her part.
Right. Could she ever verbalize why? Like,
just from like an independence standpoint, autonomy kind of thing. And for me, I have had it in my head, like, oh, I really want to live with someone. Like, I want to have this like perfect little home again where I've got another parent in the household. I don't have to do all this by myself all the time. It'll help with me financially, like big time, to have someone else here and paying bills. And then on top of that, I'm thinking like that same expectation that my parents had when I was in my 20s is still here, and it's still in the back of my mind. Like,
but did that's interesting.
Well,
too.
that's what really caught me off guard here. Is I've had that perception in my head of like, all right, what do my parents want from me?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure they want to see me, live an honest life and
Right.
have my partner live with me and all this stuff. And then I'm talking to my mom a few weeks ago, and I rarely talk to my mom about anything personal. Like when the breakup happened, I literally told her, I'm not talking to you about any of this. It is amicable, and like no one is the evil in this situation. Like no one needs to be ousted, none of it. Be kind, basically. Because my mom can get very like mama bear, And so about a month goes by, and I end up talking to my mom a little bit about it. And I'm telling my mom how I'm kind of shifting how I look at things as far as like, what does my life look like?
Right.
Like,
What should I be doing at this stage?
Like, should I be trying to move in with someone?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was like, I think that's a great idea to not live with someone. She was like, you're handling all this yourself right now, and it's fine. And your kids are happy. And you've got your own space.
Yeah, why add that layer?
Yeah, and she's like, your dad sleeps in the other room, and he's slept in the other room for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like why, what's the urge here?
Right.
And she's like, if you're happy this way, then keep it this way. And I was
what
like,
if you're
holy
not
shit.
happy?
Well, I mean, that's a tough thing, because this is new to me to like kind of like processing.
Yeah, and it's like, maybe it is what I want. If I'm quiet and ask myself, maybe... Like, you're right. Like, sometimes I wonder the expectations we have on other people. Like, I've thought about that before. Like, even today going to lunch, it's like in 6 months ago, I probably would have felt a little guilt around not throwing my partner an invite. And it's like, I would have felt like that's what I'm supposed to do, or that's what I should do. And even that I've kind of evolved into, I'm allowed to have my own life. I'm allowed to have dinner with friends Saturday night and let her know that's what I'm doing.
Right.
So it's like you thought your family would expect this and you've got to do it, but maybe they don't, and maybe that frees you up.
And on top of that, like we're looking at our relationships as that like heterosexual norm where your partner's your best friend and you're spending every waking moment with them.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
It's broken.
Like if a straight couple, if the husband was to go on a trip with his friends, it's immediately like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Who's cheating on who right now? And same thing with a woman. If the woman's going on a trip, a girl's trip, it's kind of like, oh, she's left her kids behind, blah, blah, blah. It's not the fact of like they need the autonomy and they need the time alone. They need to bond with other people. And like I see a lot of straight couples do this. I mean, a lot of lesbian couples do this where they're doing literally every fucking thing together.
Yeah.
And it's even worse than with a straight couple, because at least with a straight couple, the girl can be like, you know what, it's girls' night. We're going to go out to dinner.
Yeah.
And it's like she's getting that separate time. Maybe not a trip, but she's getting a night with her friends. And he's getting a night with his friends. Yeah. But with like lesbians, it's like, well, why aren't you inviting me?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're all women here. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and you feel left out. And it's a whole thing.
Right.
But why can't we do that?
Well, let me ask you, though, we can do that, and you're kind of doing it now to some extent, but what do you do when your partner and you share the same social circle in that situation?
That does get, like, tough.
Yeah. And could you just say, we're going to be friends and hang out?
Yeah.
Like, no one did anything wrong, so it's also just like this... I don't know. There's like a sweetness to that of come. Like, I don't want you to feel left out.
Well, that's kind of like what we're doing this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to Music Midtown.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know where we stand. We're not together.
Yeah.
But we're not
mad at each other.
Yeah. So it's like,
yeah.
And I'm probably going to bounce around a little bit.
Yeah.
While I'm there. Like,
of course.
Not spend the whole time right next to her.
Right.
Whereas if we were in a relationship, then I'd be like, wherever you go, I'm going.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just kind of like a different perspective.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And it is like, to your point, there's so many new variables once you're divorced, children, jobs, cities.
Different cities. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing, because I think about this a lot. Like, how many women do you know? I know a lot who, because they have kids, and this includes me, they are tied to a certain location.
Yeah.
They've got their divorce worked out, and they've agreed on like where they're going to raise the kids. They both own their houses there, that kind of thing. And like, you're really tied to that location.
Yeah, for a long time.
And so if you meet someone that doesn't live in the same city, there's not much you can do about it, you know? And so it's either like we do long distance, and there's people I know that live like states away.
I know. I can't wrap my brain around
I can't wrap my brain around that either, because even doing like the 40 minutes distance that I've been doing is hard.
Right.
But I mean, that's just it. Like it's difficult to find a partner. I'm not going to like, that's probably the biggest thing in this, I think, is back in my 20s and dating, there's like a plethora of people to choose from.
But do you think that I'm going to stop you there, because I don't know if I wonder if I think there still could be a plethora of people, but maybe as you get older, like I have my expectations.
I'm more selective. Yeah.
Like I want this certain thing.
That is very true.
Yeah. They're all there.
They are there. I am just a lot more choosy about who I'm going to pick to spend my time with.
And it's not even for me, like the older I get, it's not even like that there's not, it's almost just like, it's not even physically. It's more like all the other intangibles that you don't really know until you're with someone a while, that is like really important to you, that maybe you didn't even know was really important to you. Mm-hmm. You know?
Well, yeah. And like, you know, I think too, when you're in your 20s, it's a little easier to move on. And maybe I'm just saying that from the perspective of like, I was a straight woman or a gay woman dating straight. And so it was easy for me to like let go of relationships that didn't work out. But like, I feel invested in the person that I've been with the past almost 2 years.
Right.
And like the idea of finding someone that's going to like check all those boxes the way that she did is just like, it feels impossible right now.
Yeah.
So like, that's why I'm kind of like in this space of like holding space.
Yeah. And I guess too, like you're identifying what you like. I think we said this on the last podcast, is like one thing that she showed you. We talk a lot about how people show you what you don't want, but a lot of times people show you what you do want. And I think there was a lot of really wonderful things in that relationship that left you feeling these are really good qualities that I like in a person.
Right.
So, you know.
And like, how often do I really want someone around?
I know. That's like, a good question.
Do I really want someone to come live in my house? When my ex-husband's an airline pilot. He was gone like 3 or 4 days a week. Yeah. So I had plenty of time to myself.
Right.
Which makes me long for time with someone right now. But if I really think about it, there were a lot of times when he was leaving, especially if he'd been home for a long time, where I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I can watch whatever the fuck I want on TV. Like, there's no discussion on like what we're having for dinner. Right. You know, all these choices are mine.
Yeah.
So
there's beauty in that too.
There's nice parts about that.
But I think part of that's easy. Like when I used to have to travel with Owen when he was acting, I would go, but there was like, it's easy to think about, I'm going to get this 3 months in a hotel in some great city. But I knew I had a husband. Yeah. So it's like, it's easier.
Not much you can do is pretty restricted.
Well, yeah. Well, it's just like, I wasn't like, I don't mean that. I mean more like emotionally, it's easy to be alone at the hotel,
when
because it's like, I know I've got this guy at home pining for me, who's, you know, happy when I come home. Like, it felt easy. My friend and I, actually my best friend, Sam, who's coming to town this weekend. I'm so excited. Oh, nice. But Sam and I would say, like, we literally would be for 3 months. One time we were in Boston for 3 months together. And we would go home on the weekends, or the kids would come see us on the weekends. But we were like with our acting children there for 3 months. And we both would say, like, we're fucking thriving right now. Like, there was no feeling of like, oh, I'm so homesick. It was like, we both would, you know, say goodnight. We'd go to our own hotel rooms, but we shared dinner every night. We shared breakfast every morning. We worked out together. We were with the kids all day. We read the same books. Like, we were together in the sense of like not intimately together, but like together as like this close friendship. And we laugh. I mean, we're like, we were fucking thriving. Is it ever going to be that good again? Like, do we ever get that again?
Yeah.
And we were alone. I went to bed alone every night. I woke up by myself every day.
I had the security
of a husband back home wanting me.
And I think that's just part of it, is like, that's why being alone, like single alone, is so hard. Yeah. It's because you don't have that sense of security.
Yeah, there's no sense of security. And I think, too, it's like Jamie has said, what do you value? Do you value passion and, you know, if you're gay, you have to be with women? Or do you value security and safety? And so you don't necessarily want to go out and experience that. And I would have said, you're gay, you've got to leave. But I've come to a point now where I'm like not 100% convinced everyone should leave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think there is value.
Well, yeah, I don't think everyone should leave necessarily.
Yeah, like I think there's a lot of value in being with your spouse who you have children with. Mm-hmm. Maria and I talk about this. Yeah. Like there is a lot of value in raising children with the person that is their other parent.
Yeah.
And there's you can't put a price on that. You're giving up a ton. Mm-hmm. So not to like be the person, but I have come to realize that there is a massive cost.
But you still feel okay with where you're at.
Yeah. Today, but there are points that I'm definitely like, I saw this thing recently where you get your children for 18 years and then they go away to college, and for the rest of their life, you will only have them one more year. You get them in total one more year. Like, because they're gone, you know, like and I sent that to my daughter and I was like, I can't believe this. Like you get them for 18 years and then the rest of my life, I'll have them 1 year on and off. It'll add up to 1 year on average. Total.
Dude.
If your kid's successful and leaves the nest and goes to do what we brought them here to do. So it's like, I heard that and I was like, God, like if you're not.
I mean, I guess that's really true. Like, cause if I think about it, I went from high school to college.
Yeah.
And I would come home on the weekends.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't even come home on the weekends.
But then after that, after I moved to Florida, like that, peace out.
Peace out. Tatum is already sending me, she's studying abroad. She wants to go do this. She doesn't want to, she has an apartment now in New York. She's not coming home. She's not going to come home this summer when she's got a place there. Yeah. Like I'm going to have to go there all the time. Yeah. So it's just like I read I saw that. I'll send you the link. And it was just like, God, I mean, that is a price. Do you want to pay that price? And I think if you think about that, you're not even getting him for 18 years because you're divorced. Yeah. So you're getting him, let's say 9 years.
Allie, you're killing me here.
It's like, I think you have to think about these things.
Our podcast is over. This is the last episode.
So I think like, I don't know, like it's what you value and in meeting people.
Yes, and it makes it sound like you don't value your kids if you're leaving.
It doesn't make it that you value. It's that it's not even that I don't value my kids. It's I immensely value as they get bigger my time with them.
Yeah.
To the point of like, I don't know that you always know that until
I think
you're
I
divorced.
value my time with them more now that my time is limited.
It felt before like you had all this time.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I was in the thick of it for a long time and very much a solo parent a majority of the time.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
So it's like, well, fuck, who cares?
Yeah.
I'm doing this alone anyway, most of the time. Not to say that he's not, he's an amazing
He's a brilliant dad.
He's a great dad, but anyone who is from an airline family knows that they're gone a lot. There's training, like it's not quite being in the military, but it's close.
But isn't it like they are then home? Like one of Reed's friends' dad is a pilot for Delta.
Right. They can be home for like a long stretch of time. Yeah, there's times when he's like, oh yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go to work this week. Yeah. Or like, I'm not working the entire month of August.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And I'm just like, what? But I mean, that's the thing. They can't. And also now he's more senior, so he has like more control over his schedule.
Yeah.
And then he's also like good at navigating the scheduling system to where he's like, got his vacation planned out, like his regular days off on top of that. So it's interesting to anyone who's interested in being a pilot. I think it can be a really great life, but it takes a lot of time to get there.
Yeah.
A lot of sacrifice.
I think the reason though, I don't want people to think I'm like, I'm just saying like, that's another reason why when you're older, like trying to have another relationship, there are a lot of layers that aren't what you had when you were in your 20s getting married.
And on top of that, if you're dating someone else that has kids, like, do you, like, what does that look like?
It's the biggest challenge we have.
And not everyone is able to, like, move in together like you guys were. You guys were pretty easily able to, like, mesh your two homes. I mean, for, like, I say easy, like, relatively easy because you lived in the same area.
That's true.
But you did live in that tiny townhouse. Yeah. It's not even a tiny townhouse. There's just a lot of people in one townhouse for a while. And like the boys have shared rooms, right? Yeah. So you have had to like do a lot that, impended on their lives.
Right. It was hard. Like we both say we should have not moved in that fast. Mm-hmm. So I think, that was hard. Like it was too quickly. Like it was too
really
much pressure.
quick.
And we could have waited. We were in the townhouse for like maybe 5 or 6 months before we bought the house together. But I don't know. Like, I think that put a lot of strain early on, and it forced the boys into a situation that wasn't fair necessarily. And we still go through phases. Like, we'll be really good. They'll be really good for a while, and then they won't.
Yeah. And I think that's the hard part is, like, I have watched
from a distance.
Distance.
That's so brilliant.
And I have seen how my kids have had to cope with a step sibling.
Right.
And for me, it has really made me think, like, okay, like, I've done a lot of, quote, selfish things and, like, coming out and everything. Like, this is something that I can do and control right now for them.
Right.
And that doesn't mean in 10 years that I wouldn't be open to dating someone with kids.
Yeah.
But for the time being, like, I like our little safety, like our little nest.
Yeah.
And I did ask my kids, too, after, like, starting to process some of this stuff. I was like, do you guys... would you want Marina to live here? Mm-hmm. And at first they were like, oh, yeah, like totally. And then I was like, okay, well, like, there's a chance, like, that might not ever happen.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we'd be okay with that, too.
That's fine. Yeah, it's almost like it's not that deep to them.
It's not that deep. And here I am like, oh, they need this.
Yeah.
They don't need it.
No,
They're
never
fine.
do. They never do.
They're happy.
They need you,
they love
their
to
mother.
See her.
Yep.
They love it. They love when she takes them to school or whatever, like, does anything with them.
Yep.
But they're okay.
Yeah. They just need you.
It's my expectation that I put in that.
Yeah.
You know, and that my, like, oh, the kids need 2 parents in the household, like that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, my kids like it when she's there because they see that I'm a little bit happier and a little bit less stressed.
Right.
You know, but it's not like this necessity that needs to happen.
And I think it's like what makes you happy. Like, you know, we all layer on the thing. What do my parents want? What do my kids need? But Oprah was saying that the other day. I was watching some interview with Oprah, and she was saying that, like, people don't realize the key to happiness, like, really is trying to separate yourself from what do I really, really want? Like, what does it look like for me? Like, what would it be if I could have it any way I wanted? What would that look like?
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that and separate it out from the expectations everybody has.
Right. And so often, too, kind of like what happened with you guys, you get so caught up with, like, oh, I'm so in love.
Yeah.
Like, let's move in.
Yep.
Let's do this. It's romantic.
Yeah, it's romantic.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, chaotic.
It was,
and stressful. Like,
we had 2 dogs. It was so chaotic. Yeah. It's chaotic now, though, a little bit. And the boys have separate rooms now. And I found, like, that has helped. Like, they have more space now. But they're 2 different kids. I don't know. Like, I don't have the answers for sure because I wouldn't say we're killing it.
Yeah.
In that department.
Well, and luckily for my kids at their dad's house, they have a big house. They all have their own rooms. Mm-hmm. They've got a basement. Like,
they can get away.
They can get away. They can have their own alone time. So
right.
I think that is really key when you're meshing families and it's a tight space.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine how stressful that is.
Yeah. And it's just like, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
I remember there was a time, we joke about it now, and she'd probably kill me for saying this, but after they moved in, coming home and literally having a feeling of, like, what the fuck have I done? Like, I had this it would be like, picture Marina in her new space. This is very similar because Marina's got this new space in Kirkwood. I had this brand new space in Kirkwood, and I had decorated it. I had new lighting. I had, like, fun candles. Like, I had beautiful paintings that I loved it. Light coming in. And I remember I was, like, pretty fucking happy there. And I was so happy when I met my partner and, like, all that excitement. And I remember, though, one day coming home and we had, like, the kids weren't getting along and it was, like, hard times, and thinking, like, what the fuck have I done? And now she didn't have a place to go back to.
Yeah.
Because she had, like, rented her place. And I remember thinking, like, oh my God, like, I gave up the thing.
Right.
I gave up. And but then it was like, of course, that was fleeting and fine. But I can imagine it's just so much pressure.
Yeah.
You know, when it's too fast.
It is. And I think the other layer is, too, like, not only are you were excited.
I was so excited.
And maybe this wasn't the case for you so much because I feel like you're pretty well set. But a lot of people, it's that financial burden. Like, that's looming. Yeah. And that's what I felt like. Really, like, the driver of being like, oh man, how nice would it be if my mortgage was half?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I think, though, that, like, that it doesn't add up to enough to make it that a worthwhile reason, really.
Yeah. But I mean, that's my history and background. Like, you know, I grew up with a family where we were very well off and we had all the needs met, and then have watched my parents lose everything.
Yeah.
So for
me,
it's like
that's very
that financial security is really important and also terrifying.
Right. You know what? That's another good point is like, I think when you layer on too, like when you're in your 20s, you're a little bit more free falling and like whatever happens is amazing and we're living on love and whatever. I remember like calling Chris when I was married at work and literally being like, I am love drunk on these babies. Like I just wanted to be with our babies. I was, you know, whatever. But then it's like you get older and the money stuff, like even like Maria and I see money somewhat differently. I am a penny pincher. Like I know I am. I will spend on a few things a lot. The rest of it, I'm not like going to just blow money. It's just not who I am. A great example is last night we went out to what do you pronounce it? Pho? Like
pho.
So the boys were all eating and like, it's like Maria would just be like, hey, like, let's just order it. Everybody, like, have fun, get appetizers, get whatever. These boys waste so much food. And the bowls of pho are like
gigantic.
4 people.
Yeah.
So I'm literally like, kind of like, hey,
I would take that shit home and freeze it.
Do that. Or I'm like, can't we just share? I'm like, you pick one and I'll share it. Like, I don't even need my own.
Yeah.
But that would be, she's like, oh my God, you're such a like buzzkill on the dinner.
That's what I would do too, though.
But I'm like, it's not even about not having the money. It's just like why we have the money is because I'm a penny pincher.
Right. Yes, exactly.
So anyway, it's just I laugh at myself, and of course everybody got their own bowl, and I'm the loser who tried to make them share. But it is like that's me, and I'm layering that on now that I'm older. I'm paying my own bills. We have investments. I don't want to blow money.
Yeah. But I was like that even in my marriage.
I was not like that in my marriage because he worried about it.
Like we both were like tightwads.
Okay.
If we spent, our agreement was if something was going to cost over $100 or even like 75 to 100, we needed to like talk to each other about it first.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. But in the end, he was like, I think I might have been a little bit too tight with the money situation. Yeah. And I was like, thank you. Because it did get to be a point where I was like, I just want to like do remodeling stuff like that's necessary.
Yeah.
He's like, no, not right now. So that's another part that I like about not having a combined bank account anymore is like, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Right.
You know, I decided that I wanted to buy a new car. I bought a new car.
Yeah.
Like, I also want to expand my back patio right now.
Yeah.
And I don't have to ask anybody.
No, you can just do it.
I can just do it.
Yeah.
I think that's really nice.
That is nice. And I think when you get older and you're trying to be in a relationship with someone, it's like there is that whole other layer of how do we want to spend our money and what's important, what's not important.
Yeah.
And I think that is another layer of stress.
But also, as you're getting older, I mean, we're just going to keep going back and forth on like benefits and positives of living with someone.
Yeah.
But like, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, how much longer do I want to work too? Like if I'm living with someone and that's cutting my mortgage in half, that's like making it that much closer for me to retire and not have to work all the time.
Okay. That's interesting. Cause I look at it as I'll probably always want to do something. I don't know what it'll be.
Well, yeah, I won't want to like fully not work. I know that, but I have enough going on that I can find something to do.
Or would you ever want to like, I'm a entrepreneur, but I also am like a serial entrepreneur. Like I have ideas. Like I think I likely would love to always have something going as far as I don't know what'll happen next, but I can't imagine like waking up and not having something I'm excited about.
Yeah. Like I'm not going to be one of those like retired people at like 65 that's like, all right, well, that's it. Like, I'm just going to sit at home and read my book.
Yeah.
That's not going to be me.
I don't even know, though, that I could just like, now that I've been working, I stayed home for 19 years. Or no, I stayed home for when I had kids. No, I stayed home for not 19 years. I stayed home for 16 years before I went back to work. Is that right? 15 or 16 years.
Not working at all?
Not working at all. I literally had Tatum, came home from the hospital, never went back. But now that I am working, there's some like really fat. I mean, I don't know. I was traveling this week with my partners and like, I don't know. I like love it.
Yeah.
There's something about something shifted in me where I like love my work.
I mean, I think I'll probably be that way too.
Yeah.
Because like now I'm not a stay-at-home mom, but I work from home.
Yeah.
So I am home. I'm not interacting with coworkers.
Yeah.
Especially since the
You kind of run your schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But before having kids, I literally could not wait to have kids because I was like, I'm so sick of working full time. Like, I'm tired of this.
Right.
But I can see what you're saying, like, after they're out of the house and, like, I'm no longer, like, so tied to them, I think I am going to be, like, thriving in, like, whatever job I'm doing.
Yeah. Or maybe you'll, like, do something for yourself. Like, maybe you'll, like, have some business that's kick-ass and drives you to... It's more exciting even, because then it's just, like, I don't know. Like, I get such a thrill in my job now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That I didn't have before. But I didn't really know what I was missing. I remember one time Chris came home in the middle of the day and all my playgroup friends were over. And we were literally like, we didn't know he was walking in. Like, he walks in, there's like magazines everywhere. We're like hanging out. I think we had wine. Like, we're watching TV and the kids are like crawling all over the floor. There's Cheerios. And Chris is like, what the fuck? Is this what you guys do all day?
Oh my God.
And he was like laughing, but I'm like, that was a beautiful time too.
Uh-huh.
Like, I look back, I'm like, we were having fun.
Yeah.
I'm still friends with those women.
Mm-hmm.
But it was such a different stage of my life. Like, I wasn't productive at all except for playing with these babies all day, which I loved.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I love working now, so I can't imagine never
even
working.
like for me, there were times like having little kids, and those days were so long.
Yeah.
Like that. There's that saying, like the days are long, the years are short. So true.
Yeah.
But goddamn, there were some days I was like, "Is it fucking 7:30 yet? So you can go to bed?"
I know. Well, I was living down here near Piedmont Park at that time, so I remember we would walk our babies to the Willies.
Oh yeah,
and like put them in the high chairs. Like, it was a whole. We'd kill 4 hours together.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you were alone in your house, but then they would nap. Yeah, no, I remember long days, and like sometimes he would travel. And I'd be like, shit, I got to do this by myself. Mm-hmm. And you probably really felt that.
I did that all the time.
Yeah.
Actually, so when Bracken was only like a month and a half, 2 months old.
Oh, boy.
He had to go, Tom had to go for training for work for like over a month.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I was at home with an infant and a toddler. Like, Kaylin was barely 2 years old.
No.
And it was like
that was like
torture.
Trenches. Yeah, I couldn't do it.
I survived somehow.
Totally.
I did have a friend come and stay with me for like a few days. And I think my mom might have come too. But my mom's kind of like having a third kid sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God.
Where are my goldfish?
Exactly. Yeah, so I think it is harder when you're older. Mm-hmm. It's a different ball game when you're in a relationship at this age.
Yeah.
I can't even thinking like now if I started over with someone else, I can't even, because I'm even more established in my ways.
To find someone that's going to mesh into your life is a really hard thing to wrap your head around.
Everybody's annoying. Let's face
Everyone's
it.
annoying.
Everyone's mostly annoying.
Yeah. I definitely have my limits.
I'm kidding.
She's not kidding.
I'm not kidding at all. Like 1 in 10 are great.
1 in 10.
Terrible. I'm sure I'm annoying. I know I am. I can't help it. Anyway, on that note.
Yes. We'll wrap it up on that one.
On that one.
Everyone's annoying.
Everyone's
be single.
annoying.
Live alone.
Just be single.
You'll be fine in your retirement. Alone with your book.
And your cats.
And your cats. All right, guys.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Want to support the Lesbian Chronicles podcast? Rate us and write a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
We love listener feedback. If you'd like to share your story, email us at melissaandallie@gmail.com. That's Melissa, MELISA, and Allie, ALLI, @gmail.com. Or follow us on Instagram at Lesbian Chronicles.